how you doing? Hope you're doing well. It's been a good couple of weeks since I last uploaded a video, so it was about time I gave a bit of an update on where I am and what's going on. So probably the best place to start is following on from where the last video left off, which was Hadrian's Wall. So first of all, thank you to everybody who donated. We managed to raise £670 for World Child Cancer, which is fantastic. We're really pleased about that. After the run, we got back to the hotel. Now, we arrived at the hotel around about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I think. And we were supposed to be checked out by midday. The hotel did have enough room, and they were actually decent enough to allow us to book an extra night in the same room, which was quite frankly essential, as we'd just been like falling asleep in a car park. So obviously got to the room, had a bath, cleaned up my feet a bit. More on that in a second, and then basically just slept solidly for 4 hours. And when I mean solid, I'm talking like properly 100% solid. I basically said to my wife before I even put my head down, like, when I go down, I'm going to be gone for the duration. So anything you need, or you're good. And then she was fine. And then I just closed my eyes, and that was it. It's just like pulling the plug out of the back of a computer, just gone completely. The fire alarm actually went off in the hotel about 2 hours later, I believe. And the most that came out of me was an acknowledgement, and then I went straight back to sleep. So literally out for the count for 4 hours. And once I woke up after 4 hours, it was night and day. It was like going to bed as a zombie, waking back up as a human being. Now, the unfortunate thing about doing that, being back as a human being, is the reality, all your senses start coming back a little bit more than they were before. And I was in pain before I went to bed, but that was nothing compared to the pain once I actually started putting weight back on my feet. I was getting, obviously the blisters were incredibly painful, but I was getting electric shocks through my feet to the point I was like, this might not be something that I can just walk off. But being the bloke that I am, I decided I would try and walk it off, which is what I did, really. I didn't do anything for the next week in the hope that all that pain would just disappear. Now, with the blisters, obviously having your feet soaking wet for 30 odd hours, it's not going to end up well. You are going to end up with awful blisters that I did, and you've seen loads of photographs of it. So I lanced all of the blisters. Not a recommended practice, but something that I've been doing since forever. As long as you're reasonably sensible in the sense that you have a sterile environment and you don't do anything daft, I found that lancing your blisters, taping them up, makes a huge difference. Basically, if you catch a blister just in time and you take the fluid out and put the skin back next to it, 9 times out of 10, it will actually just heal with the old skin. It effectively becomes a very calloused area, and it's actually very, very supporting. It will eventually peel off, but it does mean that you can kind of get on with your life, which is kind of what I needed to do. Achilles pain was intense, but after a week off, got to basically to all that week off and the weekend off. On the Monday, I had to take the getting back on that horse approach, because you kind of have two things when you do any of these challenges, and I've kind of alluded to it before. You either quit and you never do any kind of running again, or you just get back out of there and you start again. And because of the injuries, I didn't want to go back to doing anything long distance. So I thought, right, let's go back to basics and just start doing 5 milers again. So I started off on the Monday, did a 5 miler, and there was a lot of pain. The pain in my heel was very much notable, but it was bearable. By the end of the week, that had shifted somewhat into, oh shit, kind of pain. That kind of, I really got to stop here or I'm going to be in trouble. Now, as it was, I had to go and work in London that weekend, which not necessarily the best thing when you do actually have like painful feet, because I don't tend to use the tube. I prefer to walk everywhere. So it didn't really give me much rest. However, going into London and coming back home meant that I caught COVID. So I've spent the last week with COVID, and as you can probably tell, my voice isn't quite right. I am on the mend. I'm certainly over the worst of it. I am pretty much back to normal. But yeah, COVID, never a good thing. But at the same time, it has given me the opportunity to have a full week of rest, and I now have no pain in my knees, heels, Achilles tendon. I still have stiffness in my Achilles tendon, but that's nothing unusual particularly. So I'm quite happy that I am back on the mend. So I am about to re-embark on fitness again. So there will be more videos starting uploaded before long. Now, at the end of the last video, I also said no more ultras. And that lasted around about 2 days ago. And yeah, I'm never running again to forgetting the pain enough to go, actually, you know what, I really enjoyed the challenge. Let's see what we can do next. Now, I do consider the Hadrian's Wall to be kind of a mixed bag. It was kind of a success and it was kind of a failure. It was successful, and I'm really proud of the fact that from someone that started the year being knackered after running 5 miles to being able to run 40 before being knackered and then having to walk the rest, I'm still happy enough with that, you know. I think my wife could have actually run a lot more than I did. So in some respects, I think I held her back on that, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that sense. And I would really have loved to have been able to run the whole length, but for 6 months worth of training to go from there to there, and to at least to say that I'm, you know, both me and my wife have now gone from one side of the country to the other in one go, is still a hell of an achievement. So I'm really proud of what we've actually been able to do in that sense. Now, going forward, as I say, my wife doesn't actually like running, so she's actually going to go back to doing short runs, or she plans to go back to doing short runs, so 10Ks, half marathon distances, and that kind of thing. I, on the other hand, do actually like running long distances. It's just my body that doesn't agree with me, so I'm going to try and keep up with doing distances. So the kind of the plan at the moment is to do at least a marathon or an ultra, like 30, 31 miler a month. So I may actually do like organized runs, even though I've kind of slagged them off in the past. I may start doing organized runs just to have something a little bit fresh and more interesting to do, and so I don't get too bored of it. And obviously, hopefully, it will make it a little bit more interesting on this channel. Now, as far as big challenges, I do want to keep doing these big challenges. Unfortunately, I don't think running is going to be the main way that I'm going to be able to do it. I think long term it's just going to cause me damage. I think the only way you can do like really long distance, so going back to the Hadrian's Wall thing again, if I was going to do that without fully running, if I'd set the target of being next June, I think I would have been able to do a lot more and have done a lot further. But that's kind of the that's long haul stuff. And you kind of got to set your challenges a little bit shorter. So I'm going to go into cycling again. I had planned on going into doing a triathlon, but I kind of realised that I haven't really done any kind of swimming since about 14. So I've not done any swimming for the best part of 30 years, like of any kind of length. So that's probably a bit of a stretch, and I don't think the world's quite ready for seeing me in budgie smugglers. So we're going to focus on cycling. And I used to be a keen cyclist, but I haven't really done cycling for the best part of 10 years. So this is equally going to be just as much of a challenge. And the one thing I didn't do when I was a cyclist is I never did the joggle. John O'Groats to Land's End, or Le Jog if you prefer Land's End to John O'Groats. So that I kind of have in my mind is going to be my next big challenge, which is around about 1,000 miles, which is the north to south route through the country. So it's quite interesting. I've done the east to west, now I'm going to do north to south. Kind of like a poor man's Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman. My wife is quite keen to get into the cycling, so we're gonna try and do the north south of the UK at some point in the future. But obviously, I need to get back on a bike, or we both need to get back on bikes in order for that to be a reality. So stay tuned. If you thought I looked bad in running gear, you wait till you see me in a Lycra cycling bib. I tell you, that shit's going to give you some nightmares.